We are back with Senator Scot Ludlam. Now, we don't have a lot of time left. I don't actually mean in this interview, I mean literally on this station, because community TV is being shut down at the end of this year. What did we do to treat the government so bad?
I don't understand actually what this is about, and maybe you can help me out. Community TV doesn't cost the taxpayer anything. I would argue it's a net benefit to the community, apart from media diversity, but also obviously the amazing training that people get, and just the fact that there's something else to watch besides commercial television. And they're not due, even if the argument is about getting you off the air so that the spectrum can be auctioned off, that's not due for another 5 years, and they couldn't get rid of the stuff in the last auction. So maybe this is a bit unorthodox as an interview style, but what the hell? Maybe you can help us out. Why are they doing this to you? Yeah,
it's a bit of a mystery. I mean, Turnbull's quotes on this, he said that the spectrum is a scarce public resource. And it certainly is finite. There aren't infinite.
Sure. But
I mean, I don't know. When I flick around the TV, I see Spree TV and whatever else. It's just 24-hour shopping networks. And I think if we're going to talk about it as a public resource, you can't just commercialize it to the nth degree the way he is.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would agree with that. It's oceans of garbage. The multi-channels are barely watchable, and maybe there's, you can kind of see the audience figures. There's obviously a niche. There's people who are interested in staying up till 4 o'clock in the morning to watch Home Shopping Channel, and good luck to them. That's the benefit, I guess, of having free press. But I honestly don't understand why you would smash up perfectly good community broadcasters. So to my mind, given that there's actually no funding in it, that it's purely a political decision that's being made for commercial purposes that obviously haven't been made clear, I think you're in a winnable position. I think it's a decision that could be reversed if we shout loud enough.
Well, let's shout.
Let's shout. Guess what? You're a broadcaster. This is a room full of cameras. You've got transmission equipment. You've got bandwidth. You've got spectrum. Let's get your audience into it.
Let's do it. We need to galvanise. I've been trying to think about what Turnbull, what his approach is, and he seems to be really pushing for the online thing.
Yes.
Now he says that we should move online. Hasn't really given us enough time to make the transition. I mean, transitioning from one medium to another is a huge, huge task. Do you think that if we are going to move online, if all of entertainment is going to sort of be this amalgamated online viewing that he seems to think it is, that community TV can survive in that environment?
I think it can survive, and I think the instinct about people's viewing habits shifting online is a good one. I just think this is a call that's been made 5 years too early. Imagine if Turnbull had gone to Kerry Stokes and said the future of broadcasting is on the internet, so we're pulling your spectrum, Channel 7, knock yourself out, go and play on YouTube and make the best of it there. There'd be a riot. They wouldn't do that in a million years. I think you can come back in 5 to 10 years, assuming that we can get the NBN back on the rails and that it's not, a kind of catastrophic mess in the way that it is at the moment. But if you give it till kind of 2019 or 2020, if there's a proper period of transition and investment in getting community TV into a good position, I think it's a great idea, but not to just kill the stations, not just 31, but around the country in 2015 for no good reason before that transition has taken place. It's madness.
I guess trying to reconcile Turnbull's view of the internet being the future with the changes to the NBN is very, very difficult, and we know that he believes this. There was some talk at the beginning when everyone on the left briefly thought that he was sort of the left's inside person in the Liberal Party, that he was being pushed into this terrible plan. But this is something he actually believes. He believes that the internet only needs to be so advanced, that we only need to put so much money into it, so much infrastructure. And at the same time, he's pushing, it feels like a bit of a line, that he's not actually interested in community TV surviving.
Well, I guess so. He signed off on an agreement to kill it by the end of the year. So, yeah, that would be incompatible with it surviving. Pulling your spectrum rips you off air without any kind of transition in place to make sure that people know where they can find you online. And, you know, as you've said and as your materials say, it's 89 or 90% of viewing hours are still watched on broadcast television. I reckon in 5 years it'll be a lot less. You know, it'll be a lot less. So that let's talk about a transition rather than just shutting the lights out in 8 months' time.
It's wonderful to have you here, but I do feel like we're sitting here aggressively agreeing with one another.
Exactly. I can't believe you just said that. It's so right.
I'm outraged.
It's so true.
You suggest there is a glimmer of hope that it's not, you know, we're not completely toasted yet. We've only got about 6-7 months left. What can possibly be done?
I think, you know, we faced this a couple of years ago actually with community radio broadcasters when the previous government was in the process of pulling a couple of really important programs and also kind of starving the sector of funding. And the radio audiences obviously are a lot larger and they're more diverse and they're more dispersed around the country. But what they got onto very quickly was the fact that, hang on, we're broadcasters. We can talk to people, we can reach people, we have an audience. These people vote. And if they're watching the station, obviously they care about its continuity. So I think probably the most important thing we could do in the next 6 months is grow the audience and politicise them and get into Mr. Turnbull's ear about delaying this decision so that a proper transition can happen. It's not going to cost the budget anything. It's going to be politically popular, even amongst people who don't watch community TV. It's nice to know that it's there. I think getting on a fairly serious campaign footing, look, you've got nothing to lose. All this equipment, all the expertise, all the volunteer hours that get put in, I think a proportion of that can be channeled towards engaging the audience and getting them active.
All right, so what we need is for everyone to tweet at Malcolm Turnbull, tell him we need more time to move online, but don't just stop at the tweeting. You know, you can actually physically go to his office. That is an option, and he can't mute you as easily as he can on Twitter. So maybe try doing that. Well, Senator Scot Ludlam, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to have you here, and we'll be back after the break with Grant Hanson.